Okay, so I'll address the elementary question first and then circle back to the high school one. So the elementary question, why don't we just build schools bigger? One of the challenges with that is we don't want to do something which is kind of references as overbuilding. We specifically build our buildings, the brick and mortars, because we want them to flex. We don't want it to be that like this is the building, it's all there is. So we specifically build for our elementary schools. We specifically build in and plan for at least 4 portables to be at each school location. And then for our secondary schools, we usually build for portables and often satellites. Um, the way that demographics work and the way that growth happens in municipalities is a lot of times you'll have a demographic shift where it comes in that you've got really young families and then they're coming in, and then as those families age out, then maybe instead of 4 kids in the house, now they're retirees. And so you don't want to create a dynamic where you have spent millions and millions and millions of dollars to overbuild and then you have empty and half empty schools. So as much as people don't love portables and satellites, they do serve a purpose. They help us kind of stretch resources and not overbuild. And I understand that because the majority of schools on the west side already have portables and satellites and growth is projected. One of the things to consider too is that we have had roughly 20 years of really, really solid growth in Saratoga and Eagle Mountain. The cities themselves are only about 27 and 28 years old. We have at least another 40 years of growth. And I think one of the things that we're seeing is a lot of us who, like I'm at the phase where all of my kids have now graduated, that basically people my age who have grandkids are starting to experience the same thing that they had with their own children. So we have a couple of generational dynamics where we still have, a generation, 2, maybe even 3 worth of growth that we're going to kind of be in this pattern. As far as the high school, I kind of tried to reference that a little bit earlier with some of the dynamics as far as kind of what's happening and the timeline with that. There are some challenges moving forward. There are some timeline pieces. And I will say that one of the things I'm specifically working on is I've thrown out a couple of ideas to legislators to resolve those issues ongoing. And like I said, it's not just the Saratoga Springs High School. There's also the rebuild phase 3 for AF and PG. So those are significant projects that obviously those areas want resolved. And then there's some schools with seismic issues. So I have a couple of ideas moving forward to update the code so that it is a fair dynamic for everyone while also not putting a full stop on builds during kind of that interim period.
Trying to manage. Did you answer the question about the timeline for the high school as well? That second part.
So the timeline, this is the part where it's going to get a little bit complicated, and I'm trying to be respectful that other people, I guess, have different opinions. The current dynamic with the high school is that it's on a pause. And it will be on a pause. And yeah, I will just say that it's a pause and I'm looking for solutions moving forward.